Propaganda, according to Bruce Lanes-Smith, a professor of political science in Michigan State University, is the dissemination of information, facts, arguments, rumors, half-truths or lies to influence public opinion. Nigeria's ruling All Progressives Congress has found itself in recent times at the receiving end of a barrage of criticisms from an opposition eager to prove that it lacks the credentials to govern a complex nation like Nigeria. In just 2 years, the ruling party appears to have frittered away all the optimism and goodwill it had garnered while coming into power. And many say it is because of unfriendly policies and actions that seem to suggest it favors a particular part of the country. But media handlers in the government are at pains to point out that these are but the work of detractors who try to hide the giant strides that the government has made under a barrage of negative propaganda, consisting of half-truths and outright lies. Many may say it is only receiving an equal portion of what it put the ruling party before it through when it was in the opposition. But beyond the People's Democratic Party, which is the official opposition party, the present administration does admit it has opposers that go beyond party affiliation who are eager to prove President Muhammadu Buhari is not in charge of his government. And it came out in form of an advisory signed by the Special Advisor, Media and Publicity, warning Nigerians of a sinister campaign by disgruntled political elements out to launch orchestrated campaign of calumny in the days ahead, in which President Muhammadu Buhari would be portrayed as not being in charge of the country. A narrative already started from a procured offshore medium by the instigators. Why does this administration find itself in this position? Is it getting some things wrong when it comes to governance? Is it because of the taciturn disposition of Mr. President? Are the president's men not doing enough to protect or project what this administration has achieved? Or is the opposition right? This is Politics on Sunday. I am Femi Akonde. A country in recession for the second time in 4 years, an increased wave of insecurity across the country, especially in the north, which has had security organizations confused as to how to bring it to an end. Looming food shortage and a consequent increase in the prices of food items due to the reluctance of farmers to go to their farms for fear of getting attacked by bandits. An increase in taxes to fund the budget following dwindling oil prices, increased borrowing. All of these are policies that have attracted a wave of criticisms from the opposition. Their complaints resonate with the general public who are at the receiving end of these policies, which to them have not improved their living conditions. The federal government has hit back at critics, insisting that these issues have been twisted out of context, laced with outright lies that what this administration has been able to achieve in the last 6 years. It started a war against fake news. It has pointed out that a lot of misinformation have been spread via social media, but its protests have attracted even more criticism by those who believe this government is now trying to crack down on the very social media on whose back it rose to power. President Muhammadu Buhari, not unmindful of the seeming loss of goodwill, had challenged his ministers and aides to rise to the task of showcasing what this administration has done.
The accelerated passage of the 2020 budget and its review in response to the coronavirus pandemic, the timely confirmation of my nominees, and passage of critical legislations by the National Assembly are all testaments to our willingness and commitment to play in your part towards delivering effective services to Nigerians.
Apparently, it hasn't helped. Now worrying to the president's media aides is a new campaign, it said, is being planned by those disgruntled political elements out to prove President Muhammadu Buhari is not in control of his government. Why is that so easy to prove? Does the president's taciturn nature have anything to do with it? I sat down with the senior special assistant to the president on media and publicity, Garba Shehu, to review why projecting a good image of this government based on its achievements is becoming increasingly hard. Our conversation this week is with the senior special assistant to Mr. President on media and public affairs, Garba Shehu. Welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you.
Yes, let's start with Mr. President's New Year message, his congratulatory message to Nigerians. A lot of people have been talking about this. Some are giving him kudos, and we've even seen in some quarters some people are not satisfied with the content of the message. But it's a reminder of where we are coming from. How do you see things panning out differently in the year 2021?
Well, let me say two things. First, that the president's broadcast to the nation on January 1 was out of his commitment to reach out to Nigerians. It's not the tradition over time. If records are checked, you find that usually Nigerian leaders don't speak on on January 1. But he felt strongly about it, going against records and said, look, let me just do this because that's a message that I want to come. So it's a very important thing, for him. And two, even when he spoke, he also made clear that there are people who don't think we're going as fast as they wish or we're not doing as well as they want. They're entitled to their opinions. We agree with them that they and ourselves, we are all headed in one direction. We all want a better society, better Nigeria. So we have no problem with them. The president is given avowals, commitments to doing so many things differently, including the issue, in fact, if you count the number of paragraphs in the 30-point address that he read, perhaps the biggest component dealt with the issue of young people in the country. He addressed the issues concerning the youth. It's a reach out to them. So I believe that in the coming, in the year we're just entering now, we're going to see a number of programs, projects panning out in order to accommodate the concerns of the young people, which led to the EndSARS.
Because I was coming to that because their voices have been really loud in 2020, the young people. I know the president came out, he talked about the young people. It's calmed a lot of frayed nerves. Some people said for once, or they were excited that the president at least is appealing to young people, coming up with programs that would directly target these young people. But is this an admittance that truly we have not done some things right for the young people and we are now ready to directly impact young people?
Well, it doesn't have to be said because the president in his broadcast did say, again, we had listened to you, we have heard you, and we are going to act on. And so therefore, it's not in doubt that this is a new page, and there will be greater accommodation, and there will be greater response to the yearnings of, in fact, the president is talking about working together with all stakeholders, particularly the legislature, in order to work out schemes by which all of the potentials, the creative energies, the intellect, creativity of our young people.
Do you think the president or the president's administration is not getting enough credit for what the government is doing? Because, in the last presidential ministerial retreat, he challenged ministers to blow their trumpet, go out there and let people know exactly what you're doing, because it looks as if most of the blames are heaped on the table of the president, forgetting that he has ministers as lieutenants who are supposed to execute these policies?
Well, there is that concern with the president, and it is also the fact that there is a proverb suggesting that people who are pretending to be asleep, they are more difficult to wake up than people who are actually sleeping. I think that there are people who are determined not to listen and not to see all of the things. Otherwise, look at the enormity of the programs and projects and infrastructure that is going on all over the country, unprecedented in the history of this country. However, I want to say that there are also hard to crack segments of the national population who are difficult to reach with public information because deliberately they are choosing not to be reached. However, we are hoping that the president's directive asking the ministers to go out there would help things.
You talked about the hard to reach people, the hard maybe not to crack. This group of people also influence a large number of Nigerians. If you call them opposition parties, if you even call them some certain interest groups who would do anything to pretend as if not to see what this administration is doing. But how do you handle such, permit me to use the word, maybe bitterness displayed? How do you manage all of this? Because these are still Nigerians who must understand that the administration means well for them.
The opposition has a right to say we should be thrown out of office, because even in our own case, if we didn't succeed in persuading Nigerians to kick out a sitting government, we will not have been in. So that's how democracy works. That one in opposition must convince the people that you are not the best, they are the ones who are the best. Sadly for the country, I think it is too soon for the horrible and horrific records of the People's Democratic Party to be washed away. It is too early to forget what they did to wreck this country. That it is still that PDP which made the national treasury, as if it belonged to one or two people, that they can raid at night, even on Sunday and on Christmas. And they take money from central bank, huge billions of US dollars, put it on the table, and then share it among themselves in the name of security or whatever, and then just go home.
Has all of that stopped now?
Absolutely no. This government under President Mabum has stopped grand corruption. What I mean by grand corruption, schemes by which, as I said, people will pull out money from central bank, put it on the table and just go home. No, it can't happen under this dispensation. I'm not saying there is zero corruption in the country. Today in Nigeria, it cannot be that you will go and in daylight, you go and open public treasury and take money and think that nothing will happen. No, people have been locked up, they have been sent away from office, high people have been jailed, governor, whatever. So impunity has been sent away.
Okay, recently there was this information that was put out that Nigerians, warning Nigerians about a propaganda coming up by a group of people to portray the president as not being in charge of affairs in the country. And some people, critics, have said that the government does not embrace constructive criticism. And could it also be why the government is now warning Nigerians to be aware of critics who would like to point the government in certain directions and maybe begin to now see them as enemies of the state?
The president of Nigeria, President Muhammadu Buhari, is healthy, is fit, and is fully in charge of his government. And let no one make the mistake of thinking that they can chance the president on these things. The fact that the president is calm, is patient, and is not bullish, He was there as military head of state, and he keeps telling the story all the time. He had power, all of it, executive power, legislative power, judicial power, all of it under military commander-in-chief, because it was a dictatorship. So he knew power, he knew how to wield it. Now the fact that he's here as an elected president, in charge of one of three arms of government, executive arm of government, puts a restraint on how much he can really go out there. He cannot tell the parliament what laws to make or what laws not to make. He can lobby them. You know, he can try to persuade. Courts, it's zero. He has no power, absolutely. In fact, to even meet judges, you have to choose your moment, because he, as president, will not like it to be seen that he's dictating to the courts. The president of this country, or of any country for that matter, sits on a pedestal, which enables him to see things that most people don't see. The latitude of opinion, intellectual, academic, medical, security, whatever it is, available to the president of Nigeria at any time, is not available to any one single citizen. So what he's seeing, the critics who are saying he's not getting it right or he doesn't listen, no, the president cannot be bound by every advice he gets. He makes choices, because on every given course of action, the president is presented with options, a myriad of them, to decide what does he think is in the best interest of the country. Because he has sworn to an oath to defend the country, to defend the constitution and life and property of the country.
Insecurity is one major problem in the country. We have seen efforts by the government to ensure that this whole rising insecurity is nipped in the bud, from the northeast to the northwest and all of that. Even increased military spendings, we've seen all of that. But it appears it's still not sufficient. And so people are asking, what really will the government do differently to ensure that this issue of insecurity is tackled once and for all, because it's spreading across the country?
This country had always been challenged by issues in security. In fact, no society, no country all over the world is crime-free. The challenges are mutating, they are transforming from one form to another, because when President Buhari came in 2015, the biggest issue was Boko Haram. Now, people like to talk about the things that we met are being the same, and they continue to make assumptions that nothing has changed, which is absolutely untrue, because we know the country we took over. When he came, the United Nations was operating from a temporary office in Abuja because they had been bombed. The headquarters of the Nigerian police had been bombed. Churches, mosques in many cities were no-go areas. In my city, Kano, on one day, worshippers in the mosque, more than 300 were bombed and killed. So, to be fair to this administration, I think that Nigerians should be praying that the last problematic state we now have, because as we speak now, look, Yobe has moved on from Boko Haram. Gombe has moved on. Adamawa, largely, yes, recent incidents have been recorded, I don't deny it. Taraba, largely free of Boko Haram. Gombe and Bauchi. So, who are we dealing with? We are hoping, we are praying that Borno, even in Borno state, you are talking about the fringes of Lake Chad towards the border side of things. But all hands are on deck. And from the resolutions we are seeing, particularly coming from the president, I think that 2021 is going to be very decisive in dealing with Boko Haram, banditry, and these problems of kidnapping in the country.
Talking about the decisiveness of Mr. President, one decision a lot of people expected Mr. President to have taken before now was to relieve the service chiefs of their appointments, because a lot of people are saying, we're not saying sack them, but they have outlived their tenure in office. So just let them go so that maybe some younger officers with new ideas, new strategy can come on board and then be allowed to implement all of these, and hopefully it might just end insurgency and all the other forms of insecurity we're having. But the president has still stuck to his guns and has continued to retain the service chiefs.
Yeah, it is because he's seeing things that his critics are not seeing.
What could that be?
I don't know. But what I'm saying to you that where he stands, he sees things that people don't see, most people don't see. And the fact that he has kept the service chiefs meant that there are demands of them he makes. Some of this pressure may be that otherwise it is not a tenured appointment. There is nowhere, no part of the law that says Chief of Army Staff must serve for 2 years, after 2 years he must go. He serves at the pleasure of the president. Now, the president has said over and again that he will make changes. When will he make those changes? It's entirely up to him. I think Nigerians should give him the benefit of the doubt.
Okay, let's talk about the economy now. We know the economy is in recession, and no thanks to COVID-19. And unemployment is also on the rise, inflation and all of that. But with the kind of policies we see this administration rolling out, how does it have like a hang on these issues affecting or drawing us back in terms of economic developments?
Well, I'm sure you have been reading the happy news that virtually all projections are indicating that in the first quarter of this year, our economy, which has been recessed, will come out of recession. We will resume growth. It's a very happy news, and we hope that we will see that day very soon. Now, yes, there are challenges. We mentioned them, unemployment and problems with industry and foreign exchange and all of that. Now, the president has a focus, which is to say that we have been where we are because this country had over-relied on a single economic commodity, which is oil, for its strategy for growth and the earnings in terms of foreign exchange. And the president has seen that opportunity, not only in expansion of the economy, but even job creation in the area of agriculture, and has been emphasizing this over. This is a country of nearly 1 million square kilometers, and more than half of this is not being cultivated. And our young people are embracing it. I've seen in my state, for instance, an association of graduates in agriculture. People have earned degrees and say, look, I'm not waiting for government job anymore. Let me start. A lot of them are doing so well, and they have no regrets having gone into this sector.
Okay, lastly, sir, at the end of the life of this administration, after all have been said and done, as the Senior Special Assistant on Media and Publicity, if you're asked to say, talk about in terms of legacy, how well the administration have been able to acquit itself, what will it be?
This administration was careful in choosing priorities when it campaigned and came into office. Security, economy, anti-corruption. The president gave the country a new acronym yesterday. He called it SEA. This is where the impact of the administration will be most felt, and it is already showing. Anti-corruption and infrastructure. This government is a government of infrastructure, and by the time people begin to count, when we leave, they will be asking one day, why is that Baba? Why is that Baba? I'm telling you, this is going to be the story.
No, a fine place to leave it. Senior Special Assistant to the President on Media and Public Affairs, Madam Garba Shehu. Thank you very much for your time on the program.
Thank you. I appreciate the opportunity given to us.
It is obvious that this present administration has a lot more to do to repair its credibility with the people. It may require President Muhammadu Buhari becoming more personable, open and forthcoming with the people. This government must nevertheless in 2 years prove its detractors wrong. in the years remaining in his tenure. We stop here for this week. We will be back next week to treat another aspect of our national politics. I am Femi Akonde.